Good morning, good morning. What do you get when you add coffee, watercolor paint and plants to paper? Oh my goodness. So this is my latest, call it experiment, and I am in love. I must say I've made many beautiful eco-dyed papers and cloths these last couple of months, but this is just gorgeous. I saw it somewhere. I will put the link below, and I just had to try it. So let me show you the end result when you add coffee to your plants, leaves. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Coffee, watercolor paint, this is what you get. So once again, it is a very messy thing because you use lots of water. I also must admit, for this I used my good art bought paper, multimedia paper. This time I'm just going to use ordinary paper. I'm just going to see how it goes. This green one that I've got here, this is just a folder that I tore in two. So let's see what happens. I mean, experiment, what if this happens, what if that happens? But I must admit, this has been amazing. So look at this. This is one that's still got the leaves on, because you are now supposed, I've done this, let's say about 30 hours ago, and the woman said you need to keep this on a couple of days because the coffee is very tacky. That needs to dry. And then you need to pull off the leaves. So that is the only thing that's difficult, a challenge in this way of eco-dyeing, and that is leave it afterwards. So with one of them, I struggled with this one. I'll show you. I used wet leaves, green leaves, call it that, green leaves on all my first ones. And then I watched a video again and I saw she's actually using dead leaves. But when I put my eucalyptus dead dry leaves on, they didn't want to stick to the water and the coffee mixture. So that is when I then put that one over this one. And then the next day I realized, you know what, if I'm going to pull these two apart, it's going to rip the paper. So I pulled them apart without waiting my couple of days. And then I just add more. I added more watercolor and more plants, more leaves onto that. And look at that. Look at the pink daisies. Isn't it gorgeous? So once again, husband brought me some daisies for breakfast. I used them with pink watercolor. And look at that. This is just absolutely the most beautiful effect I've ever got. I mean, I'm hyperventilating. There I used a piece of this piece. So I must admit, because I don't like it there, because I would have, but I had to try it. So good for me, I did try. Now I see it works beautifully. So you can use with the coffee and the stuff, you can use cloth and stuff as well. But this one I didn't add more coffee, so it wasn't very tacky. So when the leaves dried, I just picked them up. So that is why this one is ready earlier. but I must admit the pink daisies is just, they're just ridiculously beautiful. Look at that. So I am just going to, let's just see. So I am not supposed to take this off yet, but when I feel there, it's very dry. It's only that little piece there that's still wet. So I am just going to pull this off. So what was amazing about this way of doing it is the leaves stay, some of the little parts of the leaves stay stuck on the paper, and that makes it beautiful. So that is what I absolutely, when I watch a video, I was hyperventilating, because can you imagine in your books and everywhere then when you apply this, oh look there, it is the most beautiful ever. So there, that's what I actually want. Look there, you cannot get it off, so I leave some of them on. Some of the parts are still there. Oh, this is definitely my favorite, but I say that after every new thing I've tried. But this, honestly, the effect is my favorite. You see, I'm still picking it, taking off, but some pieces don't want to come off. So I'm not going to force them. So this is it. Oh, goodness, look at that. It is magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And that is because of the tackiness of the coffee. So I also used some of my coffee grinds after we drank our coffee. On this one, that one I used that. It doesn't work. It doesn't make it like that. So then I just got this cheap coffee, whatever, chicory and coffee granules. You need to do the granules one, because that combined with water makes it very, very tacky. The awesome thing about this as well is just look at the watercolor that you just put in. I mean, it is just gorgeous. So this one you can see clearly. I don't know what's going on beneath this. There you can see the coffee. It is still very wet. There you can see. So I'm not going to touch this one. But can you imagine how beautiful? So for this one, I also used wet leaves. So I don't know what's going to happen when I pull that off. Will it stick like those dry ones? Will it stay? I hope it will. But if not, it will still be absolutely gorgeous. But I love the sticky parts. So let me quickly. Oh, and I added salt. So you add salt as well. Very funny. With my first couple, I brought up my salt in a little thing, and I was putting salt on and everything. And when I took it down afterwards, I realized it's not salt. It was bicarb. So then for this one, the last ones, I did add salt. So I haven't seen if there's really but you know how beautiful salt works with watercolor. I also used my very cheap watercolor that I found at the charity shop. But now you can see I've used all my yellow. So I had to get out hubbies. This is 40 years old. So I got that one as well. Because you use lots. Let me tell you, it is a thing. So let me first, I am going to, let me use, this is also a kind of good, very good paper. I'm going to use this before I'm going to play, but to show you mixed media paper. So that works very well. So I don't know if this cardstock will work as well, but let's see. So what you do is you make sure that you cover this very well. It must be really, really wet. So I just throw on some water, if you see there. So I just add lots of water. Then you add some coffee. Let me tell you, you are so sticky after this. It is crazy. So you can see how the coffee is mixing with the water. Then this is now where you go for your watercolors. You just add here and there nice wet watercolors. Can you see it is running? Where's my paper towel? Okay, let me just... So if you've been on my channel for a while, you will know I am really learning to go with the flow, to not overthink, to just become spontaneous more and more. So I was actually trying to sort out my my work studio, but it is not it. Then I realized I need to show you this. I was actually looking at this. So you see, this is a dry one again. I really love the dry ones, but I cannot get it to stick on my paper because you actually need to push it in so that it stays on your paper. That's why, look at the wet ones. They just work. Look there, they stick to the paper. I'm going for the orange, you know me and my orange. So it sticks very nicely to the paper. Then, okay, you throw more coffee as well to make it more sticky. So I also don't know if you have placed if you've dried your leaves in a book or something, then it will be flat. So I don't know if that is what you're supposed to do. I actually think this is rocket. It smells lovely, but when I pull it out, it was really in the wrong spot. So you see this one, I'm not going to use this because this one doesn't want to stick to my thing. I'm not going to. This one is a little bit dry, also still moldable. So let me use this. Let's go for the red. As I say, you need to really wet this thing with your watercolor, and so that you get this to stick to your paper, and then you just splatter and go on. So look at that. So I am using lots of different kind of leaves to make a beautiful pattern. And let me tell you, the more water you actually throw on and the more coffee you use and paints, the better. As I said, it's just, I have no idea how this works so beautifully. So I am using more colors than usual. Why not? I'm trying. So you add more coffee. Now I'm going to add some salt. And now I am just, let's go for, I'm going to just do a little bit of orange more. Dip it in and just really just splatter it and work it over. Oh, it's moving. Don't be scared to use enough water and watercolors paint. Just go for it. And as I said, I want it tacky. I want it brown and like that. I absolutely love it. So then I also used a spray bottle and just made sure my coffee and salt is starting to run. And this is it. Once again, not in my wildest dreams did I know this exists. It's just absolutely magical. And oh, the awesome thing is, I actually realized, you know, we're going to the farm tomorrow to visit our friends, and husband needs to go and do some work there. And I realized I got to do this before we go, because you know me, this is actually more for me. My channel is more for me because I do so many different things that I forget what I did. So with my channel is, I can just go back and see what I did. So this is actually my way also of just making sure I don't forget what I am doing. So there you have it. Look at that. Okay, it's running. The coffee is running. So I do place a piece of plastic on as well. As I said, it is very, very wet and it will stick to the piece of cardboard. I don't know where I got that. Husband brought it on. Now that one is a little small, so I'm gonna run. I can run in a little bit of a problem, but let's try this. As I said, charity shop cardstock. Why not use it? Remember how beautiful my papers came out that I dyed using the old tablecloth. And then that is, I used these charity shop fine stuff. So I am learning. Use what you have. Create something awesome, uniquely you. And see what happens. You know something else that I found yesterday? I went to the charity shop. I went to the art shop to buy some canvases. This is another dead leaf. But it's soft. So I am forcing this onto the paper. Need more water. You see the cardstock is now I need more water here to get this to stick to the paper. So I went to the to the art shop to buy my canvases, and then I thought, you know what? I see a lot of people when they do their journals, they use something called. You see, the problem is I don't. If I am doing something, it's difficult to talk as well about something else because I need to concentrate. So it's a little thing that I saw they use to make the little, it's a little tin. And then inside the tin, there's some things that you smear on the sides of your pages and your envelopes and whatever you're doing to make it look more rustic. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can see the little tin. So I went there. I asked the people for it. She went there, showed me where it was. And guess what? If I buy the little tin, plus the ink that goes in the little tin, and then the little thing that you dip in the ink and then apply it onto your papers, it was going to cost me 500 rand, probably. I mean, ridiculous. I looked at it and I thought, this is absolutely crazy. I am going to keep on going as I'm going, if you know what I mean. I'm going to use what I have to create. I am not going to buy those expensive things just to make my sides a little bit, or my papers looking more old. Because great if that is what you want to do, but I don't want to spend lots and lots of money. I want to experiment. I want to grow using what I have. That to me is more important than going to buy, as you know, stickers and things that just makes, I know that's going to be beautiful if you just stick it on and stuff. So I decided no. I am not going, whenever I remember what I'm talking about, I'll put it in the link in the description box after this. You see what's happening here. That is why this cardstock thing is not really working as well. It's drinking all my water. So the more I add on, the more water it drinks, and I cannot get my stuff to stick to the paper. I am trying to do something here and to see what is. So you see there comes a little wet green little leaf. So it is sticking to the paper. That's what I want. And let's see how it unfolds. So the moral of my story about the stuff that I was looking for and wanted to buy, because I thought, you know what, buy just the black. And then really I want my things, my books and stuff to really have an old look. So that is going to work beautifully, until I saw how expensive it is. And you know the joy that I am experiencing by doing all these things and learning to just use what I have is priceless. And when I find something nice at the charity shop, to just buy it and just experiment with that. So that's when I realized, no, I'm not going to pay that amount of money just to get that. It's funny. You will know what I'm talking about when you know exactly what you're talking about, but you just cannot find find the name of the thing. So there's another one. So even though this is not going to have the same effect than the good paper is, this is going to be something new, something different. So why not try it? So this is now what I wanted to show you. And isn't it absolutely gorgeous? So I'm just looking what type of paper I have here. Let's see. This is some music paper. And I'm actually sad there my train of thought goes again. Oh my goodness. Just because I cannot remember that name. So you throw your whoopsie water. You throw some coffee. As I said, I'm now really becoming quite sticky here. I am now using music paper. Lots of coffee. Now I'm taking my wet plants because I really don't know how to get my dried plants to stick if they're not flat. Look at this beautiful one. Oh. So try new things. Oh, what I wanted to say. We don't need lots of money to grow and to experiment and to play. As I said, this watercolor I bought for less than $1 at the charity shop. So that's why I don't care using it. The minute you go, oh, that's me, and I also need to get past that. But the minute you buy something very expensive, you use it sparingly, you know, and that really stifles your creativity. That's when I said, remember I told you about that large piece of cloth my sister-in-law blessed me with. Because of that, I started to really grow in my sewing, intuitive sewing journey. And that is the same with me with my charity shop finds, because I really don't care using lots and lots of this just because it was very cheap when I bought it. And to me, I love a challenge. I love it when I need to make a plan. So with those things that I didn't buy at the shop, I am now just doing things my way and trying new things and really want to go. I really want to go. That is actually my thing. The use what I have kind of thing, and then find out what works, what doesn't work, what do I do when this happens. And especially my journals, I want them really earthy. As I said, using coffee and leaves and salt instead of store-bought papers that's already done and whatever. But once again, really there's nothing right and nothing wrong in creativity. You do you. I'm just telling you my journey and how I love my way. And that is what is actually amazing to me yesterday in the art shop, where I just decided, no, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna make a plan. I remember years back, in order to get my things burnt and old looking, I actually burned them, you know. So why not go back? I also saw somebody use shoe polish to get that same effect of the old looking things around the papers. And why I cannot remember that name, I have absolutely no idea, but that's fine. So I'm still adding. Remember, I told you, you cannot actually use too much, because the more you use, the wetter it is. I don't know what, it just I don't know if it takes longer to dry, and then it just pulls out more patterns or whatever. So tomorrow we're going to the farm. So I do not know. Look at this. When I pick up this leaf, can you see how much water is underneath there? It was the same when I tea-dyed my cloths, and I actually had to, the pieces that were outside the watery tea mixture, they took longer to dry, and they pulled the water out, as you know, and then they became this beautiful, beautiful color. So perhaps it's the same thing that is happening here when it is so wet, and it just takes longer, and you get the folds and the beautiful stuff. Well, this is what you get when you eco-dye, when you use leaves, flowers, and coffee, watercolors, and salt. This is what you get. This to me is magical. Love you lots. Is it from Zetster's Lab? And if I can do it, you can do it. And once again, let's start really to use what we have. As I said, I had to go and buy canvases. That was fine. But I was just not willing to spend that amount of money. And that is the awesome thing about me and the charity shop thing now. I never know what I'm going to get, and what I get, that is what I try to incorporate in my works. And that makes it so exciting. So I think I am going to see how I can use shoe polish perhaps to make my sides a little bit. I usually use watercolors to just make it a little bit more burnt looking or whatever, but I'm still experimenting, playing. You know, it was actually wonderful. My friend Maria said something. She's on Instagram. This morning she said, we grew up in a time where you were forced to color between the lines. And a tree is green, it's not pink. So you do the right thing. So that's how we grew up. And I remember that just gelled with me. So it's only now in my 60s that I am learning to just play. What about this? What if I do this? What if I make look at that beautiful, add pink to my little flower, and it's life changing. I'm evolving. I am learning. I am becoming a brand new person because I'm climbing out of the box that my society and when I grew up, that era forced me in. There wasn't place for us to be or do anything outside the box. The young people of today will not understand our journey, how we were forced into a specific mold, how you need to think, what you need to do, how you need to do it. And if you're a little bit out of that, you're a weirdo, rebellion and whatever. So I had a tough time growing up because this is me and I wasn't allowed to be me. So it took me 60 years, or let's say 50, because I've started my journey about really becoming freer about 5 years ago, actually. I mean, I remember making clothing, sewing, whatever creatively I was doing, I had to do it in the specific lines, in the box, in the rules, or it wasn't right. So there was no way. It wasn't even there wasn't even an option, for me to go outside the box if I didn't want to experience real problems. So I didn't do it, I was obedient. I did what my parents said and the teacher said, and their words were the way. It's only now that I realized, wow, to be free, to just experience things like a little child, it's just magical. And I don't have to do everything like everybody else. Another thing I've realized when I spoke yesterday about what to wear, or whenever, what to wear, what's the right clothes to wear after 60, or what's the right way to dress after 50. You get all these videos and all these things, and oh my goodness, that's another thing when we grew up. You had to dress a specific way, otherwise you were whacked, So when I was saying that the other day, I realized something. Yes, yeah. What is the right way to dress? To dress your way. That's the right way for you to dress, is your way. How we dress is even part of us, even part of art, of the creative journey of who we really are. So there's only one way for you to dress. Wear clothes, dress up, is your way. That's the right way. Not the way that the magazines are telling you, and this culture is telling you, and that. The best way for you to dress is your way. It was just amazing when I realized that. And once again, I was in my 40s before I realized, wow, I'm actually a creative person. I didn't realize that because I was so in my box. I remember we were at a conference. We were leaders in this marriage counseling conference thing. And I had a jean on. I remember it so clearly. A jean, a bell bottom. It was kind of bell bottom. It had beautiful braiding on the bottom and things. I don't know. I was just dressed with nice shoes and stuff. I don't know. And a woman came up to me and she said, "Wow, but you are arty." And it hit me like she could have felt like she threw cold water over me. I said, "Really? I didn't realize that. I did not realize that. Look at me today and you see a total different person." I tried so hard to stay in my box because that's how I was programmed, in your box. And even the little bit that I tried to move out of the box, someone saw that I was creative, arty, and it was shocking to me, really, really shocking. Then I did the brain profile thing, that same seminar, and I only had right brain. That is teaching. That is who I am. I knew it from I was 3 or 4 years and I was teaching everything. And creative, the other part. So that was, I think, the first thing that really broke open my box that I was in. As I always said, my mother, wonderful woman, but and our parents, they came fresh out of World War I and II and whatever, and they were very stuck in their ways, extremely. And so we grew up becoming like them. And so you wear things this way, you wear clothes this way, you make a table this way, what do you call it? It was funny. So my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, it's only me and my brother, his wife, she is actually, I won't say very more artistic or whatever than I am, but very loose, also doing things her way, and just really. So we drove my poor mother absolutely crazy because we never do things as we were supposed to do it, So just before 80, she had this thing. The last couple of years before her 80th birthday, she was in agony because we lived in a little small town, and everybody, all her friends' kids, they gave them these wonderful, beautiful 80-year-old birthday parties, and it was immaculate. It was done the right way with it, everything. So my mom was actually very, very, very upset and afraid of what my sister-in-law and I'm gonna do, because we will not be able to give her the party that all her other friends did, and shame, it was so sad, but she passed on just before her 80th birthday, and we always jokingly said it's because of the fear of what we are gonna do. And guess what? We would have given her the most beautiful, uniquely party ever, but it would have been a little bit out of the box, because we are not capable to do in South Africa, we grew up with a woman that wrote a book. It's MC Schoeman. If you're South African, you will know. And in goeie tafelmaniere, and all the ways to do it right. The whole book was how to do things right. Dress up, laying the tables, eating, whatever. So I got that book for my 20th 21st birthday, guess what? I got to page number 2 and just threw it away. That was just crazy. Me and MC, we were not gelling, you know. So Mom wanted her birthday the MC Schoeman way, but it was just not gonna go. So shame, she was spared the birthday we were capable to give her. You know, we would have done a fantastic, uniquely beautiful, out of the box way. I remember another thing. My mom, it was one of her birthdays. So in the small town, when it's your birthday, everybody comes for cake. It's crazy. I mean, when my mom's with her birthdays, it was so crazy. So when she became older, she said, Izette, I cannot go. Please come and help. For her to say that. So I said one day, at that stage, we had a cake here in Port Elizabeth where we stay. There was a place that made these cakes, chocolate mousse and chocolate cakes. It was called Death by Chocolate. It was fantastic. We even bought one of those cakes when my kid got married, when my son got married, as a wedding cake. It was massive. And you can only eat a piece like this. It was so rich. It was fantastic. So I said, Mom, don't worry, I'm coming. I am getting you a Death by Chocolate cake. You don't need anything else. Mom, we will be able to feed the whole town with a piece of small Death by Chocolate cake. Well, needless to say, Mom didn't believe me. When I got there with the cake, she was just making sure that, you know, she just couldn't trust me because of my way of doing things. So she had other things. And I remember a friend of mine went with, and we were making tea, and poor Sylvia was washing the dishes as the next people came in, and we were slicing the cake, plus all the stuff my mother bought, and serving the guests and whatever. And the next day we will travel back. So Mom said at the end of the first day, she said, listen, I think half the cake was still left over. I mean, really, that's how big it was, and filling. She said, just take the cake back, you know, half the cake, thank you very much, and so on. And when everyone came in, she would say, oh, and this is the cake Izette bought, just to make sure, you know, that wasn't her idea. If it's not turning out beautifully, it's not her fault. Izette, the kid, the kid brought this. And that evening, the phone started to ring. And everybody said, listen, Leonide, her name was Leonide. Leonide, we couldn't make it today, but just keep us a piece of that wonderful cake, because the whole town was then buzzing with the news of the cake Izette bought, brought with. So at the end of that evening, a lot of people phoned. Everybody just letting her know, sorry they couldn't come, but they're coming tomorrow, and please keep them a piece of that wonderful cake. So guess what? Izette, sorry, you're not going to take the cake back because this is now the best cake ever, and blah, blah, blah. Isn't it funny? She was so in fear of accepting anything outside the box that she couldn't see and accept the blessing. That's what we do. Anything outside our box is wrong, and that brings fear. As I said, if you don't wear the clothes that you're supposed to wear, all your friends are wearing, you're not doing it right, and so you stay in the closet, in the box. And isn't that sad? But it was the most beautiful story. So at the end, my cake, then she was, my kid brought this cake, but first she had to find out if her friends were accepting this out-of-the-box thing. And when they did, she was on board, and that was the best cake ever and the best birthday. So let it be. It's not that she didn't love me. She loved me. I was just too much out of her box. And that made her crazy, sad to say. And so much so that she was in fear of her 80th birthday party coming up. Shame. It's sad. It's really, really sad how conditioned we are. I also read another thing that said, you cannot bring your kids up the same way that you were brought up because they're living in a different age. Isn't that true? I was living in a different age than my mother, but she was still forcing her way onto me so that I didn't even realize I'm an autistic person. And I'm so, so, so glad that I am becoming who I was supposed to be. It was so sad, funny, whatever. After my mom passed away, a couple of years later, my sister-in-law said, it's only after mom died that you really became free. She could see that. But mom first had to pass away because I was so indoctrinated. And once again, it's not her fault. That is how she grew up, Those days when they were young and you zip your lip, you didn't say anything. Your parents were right. The elders were right. The teacher, everybody was right except you. And no matter what they were doing, you zip your lip, So, long story short, get your coffee and go mess around with whatever paper you have and whatever leaves you have and whatever paints you have, because I'm sure acrylic paints, when you really dilute them, and inks and all that. Oh, I saw this, how they do this with acrylic inks. And I really want to do that. I'm still just waiting for the acrylic inks to land in the charity shop. Love you lots. Is it from Z's to Slam.